The third one into this Star Trek franchise, and we are going to undo something I guess they did in the second one, because we're searching for Spock. Spock died in the end of the second one. This one is all about searching for him. Is it as entertaining as the second one? Is it as entertaining as the first one? We're going to find out. We're going to talk about myself and three of the co-hosts. Stay with us. You're watching Unpopular. Star Trek 3. Here is a fun fact. If you're a Trekkie, you know this, especially about 10 years ago or something like that. When there were so many movies, the popular consensus amongst fans, most fans, is that the odd number movies are trash and the even number movies are good. Is this one of those odd movies that are bad? Let's talk about it. Let's bring out our first co-host, which is none other than ladies first, E Boogie. What's going on?
Hi. What's going on with you?
You know, great. You know, decided to hijack some ships, sabotage some other ships. No, me.
Okay.
And go to the planets that's going to explode. Oh, you do? Oh, yeah. That's a ship. I thought it was
like
a car.
It? Yeah. Same difference.
That's an interesting angle you're driving in. Let's go ahead and bring in another co-host. C'est la vie.
Hey, guys, give me a second really quick. So, did you look at the plans? Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to kill you. No, I know you had to verify it. I get that. But listen, I'm gonna kill you. I love you. And don't worry, I'll make sure that they were right. I'll look at it with this guy next to me. He will never see it again, okay? All right, gotta go. Bye. Hey, guys, how are you doing? Chris, you made a proposal that the odd number of these Star Trek films are trash. And guess what? The fans are right. This movie is the beginning of the downfall, and I'll get into that later. But it is good to be here.
There was downfall? That's crazy.
You'll see what I mean as far as narrative wise.
All right, let's go ahead and bring in our fourth co-host so we can start talking about this downfall. None other than Vic. Vic, what's going on?
What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? Good to be back.
It's good to see you again. Thank you for putting that sign back up in Brooklyn. We appreciate you.
Definitely.
I'm glad that you didn't get caught on film. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's all good. You know, that's what we get. But anyway, this movie was interesting. Why? Because I don't know the content. I'm not familiar with the content, and I had to do a lot of research to get familiar with the content. And I guess we'll talk about that.
Was the research watching Star Trek 2, the Wrath of God?
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I'm somewhat up to date with what's going on, but what is my problem here? My problem here is that a lot of the storyline and a lot of the characters and everything you had to know. This is stuff that came out in the 60s. This stuff's got John F. Kennedy all over it. Like progressive 60s, the Love Generation. It's got like, you know, everything that literally came out of the World's Fair, and they're putting it on television, and just like, you know, it's like the moon landing and all of that, and let's like just keep exploring space. Just this whole notion of exploration, and it's been going on for decades now. So mind you, by the time I was a teenager, it had already been maybe 30 years of this stuff. So that's why I never really got into it, because at that point I felt like it was too late. And mind you, we didn't have the accessibility that we have now. So now I'm starting to understand a little bit about what's going on and why this became so popular. I guess I got to change my name to Regrets. Yeah, because I kind of wish that I was hip to it when I was younger and things like that, because now I see the appeal. I mean, look, the amount of money that they put in the CGI in this stuff was insane for 1980 something, you know. So it's quite interesting. I mean, storyline wise, it was good, but the thing is, I've still felt like I had to know what some of these characters are. And now another thing, it's gotten to the point where Klingon is a choice on Duolingo, where you can learn Klingon if you want to. Like this stuff has gotten so popular and so historic. I mean, in my opinion, I look at it now as one of the greatest things that the Love Generation ever created because it's still going on. So you know, through that lens, I feel like it's quite interesting, and I'm curious to see more because look, you see what you guys started with the whole situation of the odd and even movies. I don't know anything about that. Nothing. You know what I mean? So I'm just curious to see
James is so
what's
proud.
gonna happen. I'm curious to see because now I want to see everything else and all that. And mind you, I might even mess around and download some episodes from the '60s. You know, who knows? Who knows? We'll see if I got the time.
Remind me next time when I ask you how are you doing. Just
I'll
sit
see you
back
later.
and relax. Right?
Oh my god.
Vic is
Like
done. Oh my god! How you doing? And only Vic. We've been doing this for about 3 years now, and only Vic can tell you an entire movie has a president. Doesn't matter if he was alive during the time Vic was alive. And a president written all over this. Like one time I saw it, he said, "Oh, Thomas Jefferson is written all over this. Abraham Lincoln is all over it.
What?
Grover Cleveland." I'm like,
I mean, it makes sense though. Like that whole era. Mind you, look, this little statue that I have
that's
behind
coming
me.
from James.
This little statue that I have behind me is part of the World's Fair. It's in Flushing Meadows Park, and just the whole segment of that time was space exploration, and this thing right here was just fiction of that. And mind you, people still like it.
All right,
So
Star Trek. Oh, sorry.
Can I ask a question, please?
Mm.
I know we have plenty of time. I have to. The first time Vic said it when we were watching the motion picture, you know, I didn't really get it. But now listen to him explain why he didn't get into Star Trek. It's making more sense because as he says, you know, he never grew up watching it. So when he watches the movie, he doesn't know these characters, so he doesn't know what's going on. And I'm glad that he's consistent in all the movies that he watches, where he's never seen those characters before, and yet somehow he manages to watch them, understand them, and then recommend for us to watch these movies. And I can think of a handful that were just treats for me to spend my time watching. But I'm glad that he was able to sit through all of the Star Trek sequels, Star Wars sequels, but Star Trek 3, this is the one that gets him when it's literally called The Search for Spock. And what they do throughout the entire movie is search for a guy named Spock. But shout out to you, Vic. Absolutely.
Star Trek 3 picks up shortly after Star Trek 2. They just dropped off Kirk's son and the new Savick onto a ship ran by a punk. And they decided, and at the end, you know what's so funny about Star Trek 3 and where it picks up? They show Kirk, and Kirk's looking all sad, right? And all distraught. But at the end of Star Trek 2, he seemed like he was full of life. He felt young and everything. But when Star Trek 3 picks up, he is one depressed son bitch, right? Not only that, McCoy's having out-of-body experiences. You know, somehow he changed his voice. He sounds like Spock. He's in Spock's quarters. But at the end of Star Trek 2, he's fine. He's happy. Everything is crazy. But then they realized because Sarah just came in and really dismissed everybody out of Kirk's party. Just dismissed everybody out of Kirk's party and just started cursing about. But hey, your son was my best love. I'm sorry, friend. Your son was my best friend, and I'm going to give you all the respect in the world. Then once Sarah found out he was being an asshole, and then Kirk had no idea what he was talking about, they decided, hey, there's only one way to do this. Let's go kidnap and hijack a ship, right? And just do all these things to get his court-martial, while this Klingon out here who wants to go back to the future decides that he wants to be anti-Klingon and actually take prisoners and kill people who's not taking the prisoners and attach a ship. All for this Genesis weapon, right? That's supposed to create life, but he knows it can destroy life if you just throw it at something. I don't know what he's planning on. But that is the synopsis for plus you're looking for Spock, who miraculously is alive now and is aging rapidly on this planet that's also aging with them. But, if you take them off. Anyway, really weird, really ridiculous. E-Boogie, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts and opinions when it comes to this movie? What do you think?
Is this a start? I'll say this. This movie took 2 days to watch. with some distance in between those days. It had a lot of the necessary quirks of the first two films and the things that feel familiar, right? The things that we're just prepared for. You know, there's going to be like a plan, a switcheroony, some sort of plot twist situation where Admiral Kirk is like thinking ahead and it's like they execute it flawlessly, right? We know there's going to be a happy ending. But the difference with this one is that there's some mysticalness about this one that it felt foreign. It felt very foreign. It felt like this was pivoting more and more in the direction of a action adventure because of the precedent that the last film had set. But I didn't like it. I didn't like the fist fight with the Mufasa Scar situation. Clearly Lion King ripped that scene off. But it was just, it was a lot. It was a lot. It was very fancy free, and there was a lot of little whimsical things that I could have done without. Let's just stick to the hard facts. You know what I mean? Let's stick to, rituals and stuff. Okay, bring people back to life. I'm not even mad at that. Like Avatar definitely had a twinge of what we saw here with the, what is it called? I can't even pronounce this stuff.
Yeah, I know the mother tree.
The Palin, whatever it is. The ceremony that they did to bring him back to life. Like, okay, I'll take a touch of mysticism and magic, but not too much. And it felt like it was just thoroughly injected in this. I love that. Really cool to see Doc Brown in blackface. No, not blackface, but in his Cleon wear. That was cool. That did get me back kind of sucked in, because at some point I was totally lost on the motivations happening. They just kept hitting dead ends, and it was just losing me plot-wise. But it was exciting to see another familiar face. And yeah, I don't know. This one was just not giving. Wasn't giving me what I wanted this time. I did like seeing everybody kind of like aged up. I don't know. Was this a different, like how, when did this come out?
It's 2 years after.
Just 2 years?
It's supposed to be about 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
Okay, well, the makeup department really changed something up, because everybody is painted way less than the last film, and they've definitely aged up some. I don't know. Something's happening there. Everyone looked older, like 10 years older. Maybe it was the lighting. I don't know. But that's all I got, y'all. This is hard watch.
C'est la vie. You don't mind taking it away.
Sure. I didn't know if Vic wanted to go again, but let me just say that. E, when I first saw your background, I started thinking of the song "We Like to Party" by the Vega Boys, but then I realized that you were in the DeLorean. And let me just say, geeky enough, I got to meet Doc Brown at the convention center down in DC at the last comic convention last year. It was really, really cool.
Wow, that's cool.
So yeah, I gotta find that picture to show you all. I think E brought up a bunch of the points, which is why I said what I said at the beginning of the show, or I can't even before we started, why this is the beginning of the jokey joke Star Trek. And in my opinion, the quality goes downhill. Chris touched on it as well. In the last movie, okay, which this is a direct sequel. Not even a sequel, but this is a direct sequel. The last movie for them in universe happened maybe a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, okay? And in the last movie, at the beginning, Admiral Kirk tells Lieutenant Savick, I believe, pray, Mr. Savick, Klingons don't take prisoners. But to Chris's point, here they're taking the prisoners and their ship, and they're going to display it, almost like a Romulan. Okay? But anyway, I digress. Then you have, I made a joke about it. Okay, you send Valkyries, And by the way, in the last movie, also to that end, Genesis only high-ranking officials. I don't even think captains knew about it because Spock didn't know about it. He was a captain, but Admiral Kirk knew about it, right? So only admirals knew about Genesis and the specific scientists related to the Genesis project. Yet somehow Han Solo Light knows about it, and he told Valkyries. And Valkyries told Krug, but Krug already knew about it. That's why he sent Valkyries to meet Han Solo and hairless Chewbacca, okay? on the pseudo Falcon. Because how did those guys find out about it to tell Krug? How did they even get the Genesis, let's call them future tapes? Okay.
Wasn't it nice of Captain Kirk to do the exact voiceover and everything for the Genesis presentation?
Also the video recording that looked like something out of the 1980s, even though it was the 23rd century. Shout out to them for that. So how did they know? But anyway, I'm gonna send my wife or my lover, whatever it is, for the Klingons, and she's gonna go on this garbage scow. Okay, that's a deep in reference. And she can't just say we have it. She has to verify that we have it. But somehow I'm surprised that you know. Well, how would you not know unless you looked at it? You looked at it? Yeah.
Unfortunate.
I understand. You'll be remembered in blast. Okay. But then
I'm glad somebody understood.
Yeah. But then not 10 seconds after she's obliterated, okay, and the guys did get their payment. Believe that. He looks at it with a random crewman who he goes later, and they both look at the tapes. So clearly it's not that top secret because remember, Han Solo Light knows about it. Again, Leonard Nimoy, who, if you ever listen to him talk about Star Trek, well, I didn't want to come back on this one because I didn't think they had my character just right. Leonard, what are we talking about? Leonard was the director. Leonard Nimoy was the director of it. So we see the inconsistency. Also, the movie that this is a direct follow-up to is not a comedy. There might be light comedic bits in it, but it's not a comedy. So that this one is like trying to have it both ways. Whereas part 4, you'll see that later, is really supposed to be a comedy. So that's why, just as far as the jokey joke, it was so tonally inconsistent. And I think that's why she said, I have to take a break because where are we going? Because the first one is closer to hard sci-fi, whereas this one is like all over the place. We can do anything we want to do. Shout out to the second Saavik, who I think is the best Saavik, Robin Curtis. I think she did the best job. She actually plays a Vulcan, not like the fake Vulcans that we see wearing gossamer gowns at the end with no bra and just white panties. I don't know what we can say. Who are just going like this. No, they're going like this with the rhinestones on their hands and everything like that. Shout out to them, but those are not Vulcans. Saavik was the only Vulcan, and shout out to her for, I almost got stabbed in my back. Spock, give me a little attention, and then putting her down to shame when Spock remembers, yeah, didn't we bang like a few minutes ago? Yeah, we did. We're not going to talk about that because you're not going to ever be seen again. Anyway, I like, though, let me give it credit, I like that Kirk uses skills that we've seen him do before. It shows his intelligence. One, he looked out for the well-being of his crew, and he tried to get Spock out of there, okay? He says, take Spock. And crew says, no. And he says, why? Because you ask it. Some good quotes in this movie. I'm going to give it that. No, because you ask it, okay? But he's looking out for his crew. The fact that he sabotages the ship so that he destroys the majority of the Klingons on there, and then he uses the same thing he did with Khan. He taunts his enemy to come down there and get him. It worked the last time. I got nothing to lose. Let me try it this time. The fact that he gets them to beam up because he doesn't know that his crew is taken over, so he speaks in Klingonese. It shows that he's a learned man, not just somebody who does punchy, run. I like smart characters, and I like for you to show me, don't just tell me, right? And last but not least, I just had it. Oh, I forgot it. Oh, let me give the other quote. And I love this at the end because I think Dr. McCoy almost steals this movie for me. And shout out to Leonard McCoy, who looked older in the motion picture, but is dressed to look younger in the subsequent films, but walks more decrepit as time goes on. Okay. I'm keeping it real, DeForest. I'm keeping it real. And this one is like, do you need some B12? Get this man some B12. Get him that kidney pill that you gave in the next movie. But anyway, when he says, "I choose the danger," and the camera hold on him, that's a great scene. It's very well acted, and I really, really enjoyed it. And you see that all of them have a relationship with him, huh?
Hell of a time to ask.
Yeah, hell of a time to ask. I choose the danger. And you can really see, especially when Ambassador Sarek says, you know, everything that you sacrificed for this. And Kirk says, if I didn't, I would have lost my soul. But you see, they all care about each other. And we see it in real time throughout this movie. And that, above anything, I'll give credit to this movie for displaying accurately and very well done. I really, really did enjoy that.
Regret, you got anything left, or am I gonna go? You might want to say that on the unmute. On the unmute.
The ship is more than a collection of people and equipment. It's alive. It has a personality, a soul, if you will. It must be respected, cared for, and above all, it must be understood. I like that because I feel like it applies to several things. I mean, it could be a business. It could be many things. You know what I mean? But the other thing about it is just that one thing I noticed, especially in the second movie, is that Kirk was acting a little bit like a well, no, he had like models of boats and stuff from like marine stuff in his quarters. So he was kind of acting like a pirate, like a ship captain of a boat. It kind of felt that way for a little bit, and the way that he just spoke about the ship and everything. And then another thing with that is that also reminds me of how emotional people were over this ship and the Millennium Falcon and the toys, and how people would fight over it like their football teams. But and I just found all of this interesting. Like, I looked at it through a lens of, all right, maybe I should have looked at this even more before. I didn't necessarily critique it as much because I was just trying to figure out what the hell's going on. But now, you know, from what you're saying, I see what you're saying. Maybe if I would have known the content from before, I probably would have looked at it through a different lens and paid attention more to the story and the acting and all of that. But I was entertained, so I'll give it a thumbs up.
Way to skip a segment there, Vic, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. I want to talk about, hey, shout out to James. He making it make sense. When he talked about the quotes in this movie, I thought saved this movie a lot for me. From McCoy's scene where he's trying to be, well, he doesn't know if he's McCoy, he doesn't know he's Spock, but he's trying to get a ship. I thought it was very good. I thought the entire breakout was very good. You know what? McCoy was actually a really, really shining star in this movie. I have to agree with C'est La Vie with that. You know, the comment that, you know, beam the Vulcan up. No, why? Because you wish it. It was really good. The C'est La Vie line itself was very, very good. It was emotional. To Regret's point, where the Enterprise was blown up. Despite anything you think, that was a very emotional scene to see that ship go down, which led to another quote, "What have I done? What you've always done, what you have to do, turn death into a fighting chance to live." Very, very good. I can't say that I think that this movie was a bad movie. I can't say that I agree with the odd thing, but I'll tell you if it is or if it isn't when we come back. Find out we're reviewing Tuesday and Thursday next week. Stay with us. You're watching a popular review.
Who does your hair? No one? Me? Aren't you tired of it? All the stares you get. This came all the way from India?
Forget about where it's from. Let's focus on where it's going. You're not tender-headed, are you?
I'll be fine. The moss-haired girl. She see trees covered in black moss and made herself a wig. Maybe the hair in the tree was enchanted.
It's fun to think about.
Look, I cannot die today, okay? I've been in church for like 15 years. Hey, girl.
Don't tell me. You're from outer space. No, I'm from Iowa. I only work in outer space.
We're proposing that we go backwards in time, find humpback whales, then bring them forward in time, drop them off, and hope to hell they tell this probe what to go do with this stuff.
I believe we have arrived at the latter half of the 20th century.
Permission to come aboard.
Permission granted.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Unpopular Review Entertainment, reviewing Star Trek movies. Next Thursday, we're going on to Star Trek 4, which for the longest time was the highest grossing Star Trek movie. Looking forward to talking about that, as well as next Tuesday, we wrap up our Blue series. We're getting a musical month where we discuss Bad Hair, which was my pick. But tonight, talking about Star Trek 3, Search for Spock, thumbs up, thumbs down. Final thoughts, E Boogie. We want to start with you.
Sorry, thumbs down.
God dang. That's going to be interesting, edit. Okay. All right. Thumbs down. Mike's not here to do this for me. So. Say la vie.
Oh, I forgot that was my name. Sorry. Listen, this movie is not my favorite in the original series cast films. That being said, I do enjoy it for many different reasons. Chris said it, has a lot of great quotes. I think it's very well acted. I'll give it that. You know, I'm a stickler for lore and consistency with that. But that being said, the other things hold it up, and I'll give it a thumbs up.
Regret.
Well, now, you know, hence the name. I want to see more of this content. Unfortunately, I'm way out of the cusp to relate now to everything that happened in the past 30 years. But yeah, and, you know, it's interesting. So I'll give it a thumbs up. Can't wait to see the rest and see what people are talking about.
Hold up. Maybe we can mute Monday Night Raw's 30th anniversary for a second and allow me to discuss why this movie's going to get a thumbs up for me, because I actually really, really did enjoy this movie. It wasn't as good as the second one, no doubt about it, but I thought it flowed pretty well. I mean, it was a bit of a deterrent in times, much to say Levy's point from the second one. A little too much, a little too bit hard, but I did enjoy the movie. I enjoyed the quotes very much. I enjoyed the acting. You Klingon bastard, you killed my son. And shout out to our fellow friend of the family, Rashad, as well as Say La Vie, because plenty of times when we dislike somebody, especially Rashad and I, when we dislike somebody, we imagine ourselves on that cliff with the person we can't stand down there, and we take our foot and we go, I have had enough of you, and that person's falling down. Shout out to Elvis. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching us here at UPRE. For E Boogie, for Regrets, for Say La Vie. We'll see you next time. Have a good night.